Now, after showing us King Prasenadi's preaching hall which he made for the Buddha, and the Sangrama which King Prasenadi made for Buddha's aunt, and then King Prasenadi's Prime Minister's home, and Anguli Mal Stupa. Zhang takes us south of Garethi, which is the real Sravasti. Mispronounced as Savatti. Now, he takes us south of Garethi to the Jetavan. Now, this is very interesting. The Jetavan was, the name is different. Now, the Buddhist world knows, Gandha Kuti, Jetavan, sea, and Kosambi. All these are all unknown words, which are not available on the ground. See, the Buddhist story was such. It was such a massive story spanning India, well healed in India. You couldn't have nameless places, which the British have, identified. Now, south is the Jetavan, south of Galkara, Garethi. Now, Huen Tsang calls it Kikuto. What does Huen Tsang call it? Mispronounces it as Kikuto. And south of Garethi is Galkara. So, Galkara is, Huen Tsang's Kikuto. Now, I told you in my previous video that the Prime Minister of King Prasenadi, his name was Anathapindada. Actually, it's a mispronunciation of Annadatta. Anathapindada is a mispronunciation of Annadatta. Now, what happens is, this high ground, Sudatta sees this high ground, and he wants to, decides to buy it for the Buddha to reside. Now, why were they searching for high ground? See, if you go to the correct place, you will realize the reason of a lot of things which have been written. Why were they searching for high ground? Because this place was on the western banks of the Ghaghra river. And when the river, during the monsoons, when the river would, flood, high ground was a place where you could live safely away from the water. So that was why it was necessary to buy high ground for the Buddha if they wanted the Buddha to live with them. So basically, that is what Anathapindada does. Now, a person called Rama, because on the ground the name is Rama, he was the prince who owned that land. And I visited that spot, and Kikuto, that is your Galkara. Now, Galkara means, Galkara means sweet scent. Something melting and giving sweet scent. And Gandha Kuti was a room of scent. So actually, the actual word is Galkara, mispronounced and mistranslated as Gandha Kuti. They have the same meaning, sweet scent. But Galkara has a better meaning. It is, something, incense, melting and giving sweet scents. Means, incense burning. So, that is your Kikuto, which Huen Tsang says. Now, that is high, that it is a sort of on a high platform. The land is on a high platform from the surrounding area, and to make that high platform, they had to dig out the mud, which formed a lake. which that lake is mentioned in Buddhist texts. The Buddha would bathe in that lake, and the Buddha gave a lot of his sutras on the banks of that lake. So what do you call it? That is Kikuto. Now Sudatta, when he goes to buy it, what do you call it? When he goes to buy it, the prince who owns it, he says that very cockily, he says, you what do you call it, cover the ground with gold. As much as the ground you can cover with gold, you can take that much land. So Sudatta happily goes and he takes out his coffers, takes out all the gold, and he lays it on the ground. And so he buys it. He buys it. That is why he is actually Sohna, mispronounced as Sudatta. See, in India, we are not allowed to call, our ancestors and all by their names. It is Baba of my father, Babuji, and I cannot take my father's name, my grandfather's name. And you certainly couldn't take the names of people of the stature of the Buddha and the people in that family, in that story. So he is known, Sudatta is known by his designation of buying that plot with gold. And then there was some place left which he couldn't cover with gold, which that prince says, I will give it, and he plants trees on it. He plants a grove on it and gives that to the Buddha. So what happens is, the Buddha says, okay, both the names will stay. One will be Jeta, the other will be Ganda Kuti. Actually, it is not Jeta and Ganda Kuti. It is, Kikuto is Galkara, which is the Ganda Kuti, and Jeta is Sita Ram. Now this is a big surprise for you, very, very big surprise for you. But then Zhang says, takes the name mispronounces Sita Ram as C2UN. He mispronounces it as C2UN. So C2UN next to Galkara is Sita Ram. So, and if you read Wikipedia, Wikipedia says that the other name for Jetavan was also Jetarama. So C2, this is established that Buddhists know it as Jetarama. Well, C2UN is Sitaram, and on the ground next to Galkara is Sitaram, and both of them are high ground. And both of them have a lake next to them. So basically both of them, because see, the lakes were formed when the ground was dug up for the mud to make the high ground. So that is your Galkara and Sitaram, which has been mispronounced as Jetavan, Jetaram. No, it is Galkara and Sitaram. Folks, because the, next place Zhang takes us proves that this is the Jetavan. That is the place where, the bhikshu that didn't, the stupa identifying the spot where the Buddha looked after a bhikshu. So folks, I hope you found this video educative. Don't forget to visit Zhang C2UN, that is Sitaram, and Kikuto, that is Galkara. Both of them are next to each other, and both of them are high ground with a lake in front of them, just as the Buddhist texts say. So I hope you found this video educative. Anathapindada is Annadata, folks. Don't forget that. Because Annadata means a person who supplies poor people with food. So, if you found this video educative, don't forget to like, follow and subscribe to my page, Buddha.